Amazingly, this is the view from my bedroom window, and I've awoken to a romantic, misty day in Venice. I can't describe how atmospheric it is to wake up to the sound of all of these bells.
We've all decided to start the day as romantically as possible in the flat. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there! And here's a little treat for all of you who are feeling a bit grumpy about Valentine's Day. Did you know that St. Valentine's is also the patron saint of plague? Though I presume that means that you pray to him to stop the plague, not that you can pray to him to bring down plague on your exes. Could be worth a try though. Is everyone ready? Who's your favourite plague saint?
Definitely St. Valentine.
Mine is San Rocco. St. Valentine's is just like the city of Venice. Absolutely the city of lovers, so romantic, but also everywhere you look around here are memories of the plagues that ravaged this city.
We're off to visit my favourite plague saint, San Rocco. He's the patron saint of our tiny village back in France. The Black Death first arrived in Venice in 1348, a year in which it killed nearly half the population of Europe. So you can imagine the importance of saints who seem to be able to cure the plague. San Rocco was born in the 14th century in Montpellier, and at the age of 20 he gave away all of his worldly goods and set off on a pilgrimage to Rome, healing people in hospitals along the way until eventually he caught the plague himself. He lay down to die in the forest, but a miraculous spring appeared to give him water, and a small dog brought him bread to keep him alive and licked his wounds. He survived, and he's usually shown lifting up his robe to show his old plague scars on his thigh. I have quite a personal reason to feel close to the Church of San Rocco, because actually in Crozon-sur-Vore, our local village in France, it's believed that Saint Roch, the same man as San Rocco, saved the village from the plague. And every year the whole village goes down on a little pilgrimage walking through the village to thank him. And his bones, or at least some of them, are apparently here in the Church of San Rocco in Venice. The Venetians acquired the relics of San Rocco in 1485. His body lies buried in the coffin just above the altar, though as you'll see later, his finger is missing. Tintoretto painted this huge painting of San Rocco healing people of the plague, and this is the first depiction of plague victims in Venetian art. You really get a sense of the horror of the interior of one of the plague hospitals of the time. So next door to the Church of San Rocco is the Scuola di San Rocco, which was a confraternity of wealthy Venetians who built this. And inside it has the most extraordinary paintings by Tintoretto.
Really?
So I absolutely want to show you this.
Can we have a look?
You realise how lucky we are. Venice in winter, we have the whole of the Scuola di San Rocco to ourselves.
Are you serious? There's
Nobody
nobody here.
Just us and Tintoretto. Tintoretto wanted to be absolutely certain of getting the commission to paint the scuola, so he painted the ceiling for free to be sure that they'd ask him to do the walls. I wouldn't mind this Adam and Eve as a little freebie for Lalande. He spent much of his professional life working on this building between 1564 and 1587, but halfway through plague struck again, killing 50,000 people, nearly 1/3 of the Venetian population, including Tintoretto's tutor and rival, Titian. So there must have been quite a sense of urgency here and importance at the work that they were doing to promote this patron saint.
What is it, Steph?
Here there's actually a carving of Tintoretto himself, who did all of the paintings here. And you can see him with all of his papers and his brushes and his pots. Although this room is full of the most amazing Tintorettos, I think my favourite things are the allegorical wooden carvings by Pianta. They go all around the room, they're all different, and here we've got Fury and Curiosity, and they're a joy. Fury's there, he's blind because of his rage, and Curiosity's just peeping out through his hat and his cape. I love it. Do you want to see lots of saints' fingers?
Saint's fingers?
Oh yes.
Let's have a look.
This is where the squalor keep all their relics, little bits of bones of the saints. And here is San Rocco's missing finger.
I've never seen a saint's finger. It's a bit of a creepy, morbid thing, really, but actually quite beautiful at the same time.
He's standing on his own finger.
All of that, a huge thing just for one finger. Well, I suppose they thought it was worth it years ago. This place is incredible. I've never seen something so beautiful.
I'm very glad that we saw St. Roch's actual finger. I'm feeling a very strong link to Cousin Sylvestre right now.
Right, well that was amazing. Where to next?
I think maybe we need a little coffee and cake.
Coffee and cake. Let's go.
This is the moment I've been waiting for all day. So good. Now I want to take you to my favourite mask shop.
Mask shop?
Yes, a girl can't have too many masks.
That sounds really interesting.
Okay.
Let's go.
Follow me down these tiny, tiny streets. We're here, and these makers of masks made the masks for Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut.
Really?
Yeah, but the reason I like them is their hats. They have the most amazing hats in the world.
Let's have a look. Wow.
Look at this place. It's a heaven.
These are so beautiful.
How have I lived so far
You've got to put it on.
without this hat in my life?
Stephanie, you need that hat. Now.
I think this one's a little better with my coat.
That's amazing.
Sadly, it's also €290, so I don't think I can take it home. Yeah, you need to try one on.
Okay, I'll try one. How does this one look?
You're having a steampunk moment, Michael.
Oh, I feel a bit Johnny Darko.
Oh, yes.
Yes, he's here with us in spirit.
Definitely. I don't think anyone can come to Venice without feeling that Johnny Darko is with them in spirit. Oh, yes.
Do you like?
I think you need it.
I need that one, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it's a staple, isn't it? I love it.
Even under all the fun and frivolity of carnival lurks the spectre of plague. The long-nosed masks seen all over the city take their shape from the masks worn by plague doctors to protect themselves from contagion. It was believed at the time that disease was spread by bad smells, so the long beak would contain dried flowers and herbs and spices to block the smell.
This one feels a little satanic. You know?
You're not your
Some of that
usual
devil
self.
This one does look very, very cool.
Ooh.
What do you think?
And you need a cape around it with a big hood.
Tape with a hood, yeah?
You're really scary. Yes, it's got to hide the
one's
back of your
creepy.
head. It's really creepy. A lot of the male ones are very scary.
Bit predatory. Don't get too excited.
I think I just want to wear it all the time. Do you pop to the shops, go and do the grocery.
I love the way you swish your head around and it just moves with you.
Okay, I think we've seen everything. Time to go and get a coffee.
Yeah, coffee. Just gonna wear that out.
I don't know what you're talking about. What? Oh, I can't get under the door. Do you think they'd notice? I wanted to show you this bridge because in the 16th century, this is where rival factions would come and fight on this bridge, and it's called Ponte del Pugni, which is the bridge of the fists. And you can see on the bridge it shows where they stood to fight. There are little foot markers.
Wow. So this is where people would come and have their duels.
Yes, duels with fists. I'd easily beat you, Michael.
So Steph, tell me about this church then. Where are we?
We're in the Basilica of the Frari.
The Basilica of the Friary.
Frari.
Friary?
The brothers, basically. It was a monk's church.
The Basilica of Santa Maria Glorioso, known locally just as the Frari, was built by Franciscan monks starting in about 1250. This is their beautiful cloister. Over the centuries they collected extraordinary art, but perhaps most famously of all, Titian's masterpiece, The Assumption of the Virgin. This altarpiece catapulted Titian to international fame, though it was considered so shocking in its day that the monks originally rejected it, only changing their minds when the Emperor Charles V showed an interest in buying it. The astonishing thing was that rather than the stiff, formal representations of the Virgin that had always been seen up until now, Titian painted her as a real woman who's just suddenly being sucked up into heaven. The apostles at her feet are not standing still praying, they're jostling around in shock, they can't believe it.
Well, do you realise we're standing in front of one of the most famous paintings in the entire world? And we're alone.
I can't believe it. This is amazing.
Where are you all? Venice is ours. It's all ours.
You can see how groundbreaking the composition of Titian's painting would have been when you compare it to the work of his tutor Bellini. Bellini's one of my favourite artists, and I love this triptych of his in the Frari. And you can see the stillness and the composure of all the saintly figures. At first glance, it seems that these two styles are worlds apart, but then you see this rich use of colour which is typical of Venetian art. Titian was already an old man when he died during the plague of 1576, and he was so famous that he's the only Venetian citizen to have died during the plague who was allowed to be buried in the city. It's quite beautiful that he's buried here near his famous painting.
Can I just say, so far, Venice has been amazing.
I know, but what we need now is a spritz.
A spritz? Let's get one now.
We're stopping to look at Santa Maria della Salute in the distance on our way to find the spritz. This church marks the end of the last major attack of plague in Venice in 1630. It had killed 46,000 people. The Doge at the time, Doge Contarini, vowed in the name of Venice that he would build a spectacular church to the Virgin if the city was freed from plague. He actually died of the plague, but his successor did keep that promise and ordered the building of Santa Maria della Salute. And to this day, every year on November the 21st, the city officials still go to that church to give thanks for deliverance from the plague. Oh dear, we've been distracted on our way to the bar by the beautiful Tedeschi department store in Venice.
Michael, we found your spiritual home. We found the Mac counter.
Yes, we're on a Mac counter. I used to work for Mac, so I don't go way around.
What fun things can we get for you to transform me?
Oh, it's about this. So it gives you like a beautiful glow. So are you ready?
That was in my mouth. Am I transformed?
Just wait till it dries. Just wait till it dries off. Oh wow, you're
nice.
glowing.
Oh, golly. It's a crazy array of lipsticks. I feel very voluptuous. It's great having a personal makeup artist with me at all times.
So Steph, you like the lipstick then?
Yes, I'm getting it.
You're gonna get it?
Yeah. You, sir, are a very bad influence on me.
Why?
Because I have my lipstick.
Yes.
And my tiny bag.
Why am I a bad influence?
You made me buy it. It's your fault.
Yes,
It's your fault. You made me.
We've been walking around all day.
All day.
All day. And now we have a spritz. Wow.
Grazie mille. Mozzarella and prosciutto, meatball, anchovy and gorgonzola, salt cod with dried fig, and truffle mortadella. Cheers, Michael.
Cheers.
Absolute joy being here.
And it's an absolute joy being here with you.
Happy Valentine's Day to you all from the city that is the symbol, like St. Valentine himself, of love and plague.